going to do kind of a middle of the week bonus little tutorial. This is just a basic netted rope bracelet that we're going to do today. Now I realize there are lots of videos on YouTube showing how to make the netted rope bracelet, and this may be a review for a lot of you. But for those that haven't made one before, I'm going to go ahead and do it today. I've had a request for this, so that's why I'm doing it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what you're going to need to make this project today. For this project, we are going to use 6mm round pearls and 6mm bicone crystals. We're going to alternate between pearls and crystals in this project. Of course, you can do it all in pearl or all in crystal. You do not have to alternate them if you do not want to. You can also go down a size. You can do this in 4mm crystals or pearls, or both of them together if you would like. You'll just have to adjust your netting a little bit. Drop a bead on either side of your netting to accommodate the size of your main beads, which will be your pearls or your crystals. And beyond the 6mm pearl and the 6mm crystal, I'm going to use 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 seed beads. I'm using galvanized silver and galvanized gold Toho seed beads for this. Now, you can use two colors of 11-0 seed beads. You don't have to use a 15-0. I, however, like the way the 15-0 looks better than I do the 11-0 because it doesn't cover as much of my pretty main beads. With 11-0s, they stick out a little bit more. They cover your beads more. The netting is more prominent than my taste is. I like to see my pretty crystals a little bit better than I like to see the netting. So, of course, like I said, you can use two 11-0s if you'd like. Just use two different colors so that you can distinguish your crossover bead in the pattern. Then you will need a toggle clasp. I'm just using this little gold tone toggle clasp today. Thread onto your needle. You will also need 8-pound Fireline and a beading needle. I'm using a size 10 beading needle. Thread onto your needle a comfortable length Fireline. I'm going to use a shorter length just to show you the stitch. You will want to leave a 12-inch or more tail, and I'm not going to do that either. But just be aware that you do need to leave a tail. And we're going to start this project. Let me readjust the camera just a little bit here. We are going to pick up a series of 3 6mm pearls and 3 11-0 seed beads. And we are going to start with a pearl, and we're going to end with a seed bead. That's a 15-0. Let's get 11-0 here. Just like this. And that's what you will start with. Bring it down to the end of your thread. Remember to leave your tail, and then go ahead and tie them into a knot, making sure that your knot goes between your beads and not on top of them. And then sew back through all of your beads just to ensure that your knot is stable and that the very beginning of your base here is nice and firm. Once you get to where your tail is, go ahead and sew through till you get to the next 11-0 seed bead, and that's where we will start. So basically, we're going to have a base of beads and then cover it with netting and connect that netting to our next layer of beads. It's a very simple stitch, very fun to do, and turns out really pretty. So I am coming out of my 11-0 seed bead here. So I am going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads. Just like this. And then I am coming out of this 11-0 seed bead this direction. So I'm going to skip over this pearl, and I'm going to go into the next 11-0 seed bead and just bring my beads, my seed beads, around my main bead, just like this. And then we will do that again. Pick up 4 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0 seed bead, and 4 15-0 seed beads. Like this. And then we are going to go from this seed bead we're exiting into this seed bead on the other side of the pearl. We're going to skip the pearl and go into the seed bead. Just like that. And then we're coming out of this seed bead here. We need to go into this one. So we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads. And an 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads. These seed beads are arguing with me. There we go. So now I'm coming out of this little 11-0. I need to go into this 11-0 over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull my beads down around my bead. Like that. Now, this is what you should have. Now, we need to work into these 11-0 seed beads to attach our next layer of main beads. And we need to do that by working our way up to the next 11-0. So we're coming out of this 11-0. We always want to work out of the beads on top of the beads, the big beads, and not out of the beads on the bottom. So we're going to travel up these little 4 15-0s right here and exit the 11-0. Just kind of hold on to them because they'll want to pull loose at this stage. And then once you get your needle through, you can pull it tight again. Now we're going to add our next layer of main beads, and we're just going to work through the little beads on the top of the beads, the 11-0s on the top of our beads. We're going to skip the little 11-0s on the inside or bottom, whatever you want to call it. We want to do the ones that peek up on the top. So we're going to go ahead and pick up a crystal because we're going to alternate between crystals and pearls. So now we're going to pick up a crystal, and then we're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead. We are now going to go into this little 11-0 seed bead on top of the next bead in line here. And we're going to pull, and this will draw the netting we created up. Just like that. And again, we're going to work from this 11-0 seed bead to this 11-0 seed bead. So we're going to pick up a crystal, and we're just going to travel into the next 11-0 seed bead right here and pull. This will cup it up. Pick up another crystal. We're going to go from this seed bead to the first one we started in here. Just like that. And then go ahead and travel through the crystal. The reason I like to travel through the crystal is it gives a little bit more strength instead of just going through the 11-0s and having the netting hold the whole piece together. Then the beads can hold the piece together too. So we're coming out of the crystal now, and we're going to go into this little 11-0 seed bead so that we can start our netting again. We're going to pull everything tight. Make sure your tension is really good. And then we're going to create netting over the top of the crystals now. So we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads. Just like this. We're going to travel from this 11-0 over the top of the crystal, skip it, and go into the next 11-0. And just hold on to your beads and pull. Push your netting over the top, and then it's time to create the next netting. We're coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead. Make sure you don't get any of the 15-0s. You just want to work in the 11-0s. And then pick up 4 15-0s and an 11-0 and 4 15-0s. Like this. We're going to work from this little 11-0 that we're coming out of, skip the crystal, and go into the next 11-0. Right here. And pull. And then just move your knitting up, make sure everything's very tight, and pick up your next series of seed beads. 4 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0, and 4 15-0 seed beads. We're going to go from this 11-0 to this 11-0 on this side here. And then we're going to travel up. After we go through the 11-0, you can go through the 11-0 and pull it tight just to make sure that your netting is tight. It's just a little harder to get back into the 15-0 after you do that. But if you don't pull them tight, your little seed beads will be a little loose around your crystals and your pearls, and it's not as pretty. So pull it tight, travel up your little 15-0s, and then through your 11-0. Which there again, I'm not sure how effective that is actually, because of the fact that as you travel up the 15-0s, you pull it loose anyway. So if you want to travel up, you can. I just got in the habit of not doing that. And then now we're going to add pearls. So we've traveled up the 4. We are now coming out of the little 11-0 on top, and we're going to move over to our next 11-0. Pick up a pearl and just go directly to the 11-0 on top of the peak of your netting. Pick up another pearl. Ignore the 11-0 down in the little crevice here and just go into the 11-0 on the peak. And again, pick up another pearl. Ignore the bead down in the crevice and go into the peak. And then go through the pearl. And then go through the little 11-0 on the other side of the pearl, just to add more strength. And then as you pull and tighten, you actually get some good tension on it. So we will do this one more time. So we're going to pick up our series of 4 15-0s and 11-0 and 4 15-0s. And then we're going to come from this 11-0, skip the pearl, go into the next 11-0. Bring the netting on top of the bead and pull. And again, 4 15-0s, an 11-0, and 4 15-0s. My 15-0s are just arguing with me today. There we go. So we're going to go from this 11-0, skip the pearl, go into the next 11-0. Pull over the top and tighten. And then one more strand here of netting. 4 15-0s, an 11-0, and 4 15-0s. Skip over the top of the bead, go into the next 11-0 on the other side of the pearl, pull through. And now that all 3 of your beads have netting over the top of them, well, quit arguing with me, then you know that you need to travel up your 4 little 15-0s so that you can get to the top bead to add your next layer of crystals. And then you will pick up a crystal, go into the next 11-0, pull, pick up a crystal, go into the next 11-0 on the top of the peak, ignoring the one in the crevice, always working on the top of the beads here. And then go through your crystal and go through the 11-0 seed bead right there. Now this is very repetitious from this point. You're just going to continue doing a layer of, well, where we're at now, we'll do a layer of netting, then a layer of pearls, then a layer of netting, then a layer of pearls. And just work until you get an inch short of the length that you desire. Now make sure that when you end with a layer of pearls. And then go ahead and put the netting over the top. Let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll just show you how to clasp your working thread end. We're going to say that we've come to length. We're an inch short of our length. We started with a layer of pearls, so we want to make sure that we end with a layer of pearls. So once you get to your length, then you're going to end on the layer of pearls, and then you're going to just put netting around the pearls. So we're going to pick up 4 15 O's, 11-0, 4 15 O's. And then we're just going to go from 11-0, skip the pearl, to 11-0. Pull everything tight. And do our next netting here. Skip the pearl, go into the next 15-0. And again, 4 15-0s, and 11-0, and 4 15-0s. Like this. We're going to skip the pearl and go into the next 11-0 and travel up our 4 15-0 seed beads. Yeah, it really doesn't loosen it. That really doesn't make much of a difference. As long as you retighten your tension, you're fine. You can travel them up in one movement if you'd like. I don't like my netting to be loose at all, and sometimes I have issues with that. So I developed the habit of making sure everything was tight and then sewing up through. But it's a personal preference, I suppose. Now, we're going to say we've come to length, and this is the end of our piece. We've put our netting on, so we're going to come in just a little closer, and you can see my 3 little 11-0 seed beads. Now I am going to I'm coming out of this 11-0, I'm just going to pick up the next 11-0 in the next peak, and sew through it and draw them together. Then I'm going to pick up the next 11-0 in the next peak, and sew through it and draw them together. And then I'm going to go into the next 11-0 that we started in here and pull them completely together, just like that. Now I'm going to sew through this one more time to make sure they're all pulled together and they stay together. Now, putting on the clasp is a little tricky, but it's really not too bad. So what we're going to do, we're coming out of this little 11-0 here. We're going to pick up a pearl, and we're going to drop it down, and we're going to pick up our clasp. Let me back off because I'm going to get out of frame here. Oh, a little bit more even. Okay, so now we're going through the pearl. Now we're going to pick up our clasp, drop it down. Then we're going to go back through the pearl. And now you can see that, now I need to get closer. You can see that I am coming out of this side of my 11-0 originally. I'm going to pull my pearl and my clasp down, and I'm going to go back through the opposite side of that same 11-0 seed bead right here. And pull. Just like that. Now I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to go into the next 11-0 seed bead, just like this. Then I'm going to go up my pearl, there we go, and through my clasp, back down into my pearl, tighten this. Now you want to make sure that you don't get your clasp too tight. It needs to be able to move a little bit. Go back down through the pearl like this. I'm sorry, I was out of frame. And pull. And now we're going to go into the next 11-0 seed bead. Just like this. Pull the pearl up. Now this gets a little bit tedious, trying to get up through the pearl here, but it is very, very possible, and it's really not that hard. It's just kind of argues with you a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to go back through the clasp again, and then we're going to go back down through the pearl, exit the pearl, grab your little 11-0 seed beads under the pearl here and pull everything tight. Make sure it's the way you want it. Make sure your clasp has a little bit of movement against that pearl there. And then we're going to tighten this up by going back through the little 11-0 seed beads. So I'm coming through this one. I'm going to pull everything down, and then I'm going to go through the next one and pull tight, and then I'm going to go through the next one and pull tight, and then one more time I'm going to go through this one and pull. Straighten everything up, make sure it's where I want it. This is what it should look like on the end of your bracelet here. And then I'm going to sew down. Of course, you can use a wire guardian too, and then use a jump ring and a clasp. It just adds so much extra length, and it kind of makes it a little bit less full looking. I don't really like the look sometimes when you get too many links, so I like to sew it on. But some people don't like that. Some people think that the thread isn't strong enough. But if you go through it as many times as I just did, and believe me, I've done this many times, it's pretty darn strong. Now you're going to go down into these 4 little seed beads here, the little 15 O's, back into your netting here. If I can do it. Okay. Catch all of them. Just work your way through. Now I've got one more I've got to catch here. Okay. And then I'm going to go down into this little 11-0 and the 4 seed beads here. And catch the 4th one. And then I'll just grab a thread bridge right here and try not to catch any of my beads, and I'll tie a knot. And then I'll sew through my netting a little bit more and tie another knot. Sew through the netting a little bit more and tie another knot. And since this is just a segment, we're not going to do that. We're just going to tie this off. Now, I need to show you how you're going to do the other end, since the other end doesn't have netting on it. We're going to use our working tail. We're going to extend our thread and just put the netting on and do exactly the same thing that we did on this side. So let me extend my Fireline. I'll be right back. We'll put the netting on. I will not put the clasp on, but I'll show you how to put the netting on and get it prepared. Okay, so I've made my thread a little bit longer so that I can show you how to do the opposite end. Now, you're going to go to your tail and you're going to put your needle on your tail. And then you're just going to do exactly what you've been doing before, adding your netting. You're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads. And then you're just going to, well, make sure you're coming through an 11-0. I was coming out of a purl. Come through an 11-0 first. And then pick up your 4 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0, and 4 15-0 seed beads. Now that I'm coming out of this 11-0 here, I can skip the purl and I can go into my next 11-0 seed bead, just like I've been doing all along. Push my netting up, and then again pick up my series of netting. So my 4 15-0s, an 11-0, and 4 15-0s. Skip, you're coming out here, skip the purl, going to the next 11-0. And pull through. And then one more time. Four 15-0s, an 11-0, 4 15-0s. You're coming out of this seed bead, go into the next seed bead, pull, and now you need to step up to the top so you can draw these 3 together. So we're just going to travel up the 15-0 seed beads, exit the 11-0 on top, pull tight, bring your 4 pieces together, or your 3 pieces, your little peaks together, and then again sew through the 11-0 seed beads and draw them together. Sew through them one more time, exit one of the 11-0s, and then put your purl on, your clasp on, and sew through like I showed you on the other side. And then you will have your completed bracelet. And that is what it will look like. Let me back off. You see one bead. Okay. So there you have it. And I hope you enjoyed this little bonus tutorial. I know that I didn't do the full piece like I usually do with you, but since this is a real basic stitch, I did want to make sure you had a project at the end. I wanted to make sure you knew how to clasp, and I think we've accomplished all those things. I'd like to throw in a bonus tutorial in the middle of the week, maybe every other week or whatever, with different spirals and very basic necklaces and bracelets that everybody learns some point in their beading career. So I will go ahead and do that for the beginners. I know that this is a review for a lot of you, and yes, I'm still making the Christmas bracelet, and that will come out this weekend. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye, or a day, or whatever it is. Bye-bye.